make this episode 3.
Episode fucking 3.5, 4.
Whatever. Doesn't matter what episode number it is. It'll just be the
N.
title.
Call it episode N.
Episode N of JOO. And sad to say that we went to go see Texas Chainsaw 3D.
2D. It was Texas Chainsaw 2D that we saw.
Despite the fact that they literally put that up on the notice board in the cinema, I forgot to mention that Stephen is not here. Because showing his dedication, he was just like, nah, I couldn't be arsed to see that movie. So, me,
Poor guy.
Richard.
He's missing out on all the fun. Hello, this is Richard. Hello.
And Stephen Neville, who's not here either.
He's here in spirit.
Yeah, I don't know. And maybe he... Like,
what are the chances that he's just going to walk in the door and he's just going to be like, yeah. So
that could happen. We'll just give his review of the movie. He fell asleep.
I really couldn't blame him.
So that's his review. But anyway, okay. Onto the movie, which, starting right off the bat, was fucking awful.
Like it wasn't. I went into the movie thinking to myself, okay, you know, as an appreciator of movies that are so bad they're good, I came out of that movie with a bad taste in my mouth.
Now let's go over a brief recap for people who aren't in the know-how. This is the 7th Texas Chainsaw Massacre film.
Is it?
Yep. So, running down the list of the films there's been the original, the classic, which we will discuss more in detail in a minute, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. Its original direct sequel, which was made as a pretty much a comedic sequel, like Gremlins 2.
Really?
You know, Gremlins is a comedy. Gremlins 2 is a just kitchen sink in their comedy.
Alright, grand.
And the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is also pretty much a slapsticky kind of sequel. Then we have the Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, 1990, which I've never seen. It sucks, I've been told, and I'll probably think it would suck. But weirdly, interesting thing about it, Viggo Mortensen is in it. And you're gonna be like, what's a Viggo Mortensen is what you're going to be asking next.
I don't want to say that, but yeah. Who the fuck is a Viggo
Aragorn from Lord of the Rings.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa. What's he doing there?
I think he plays one of the rednecks. One of the baddies.
The bad guys.
Then there is, which I don't even understand how it exists, what it is, what it's about. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, which is a reboot / not a reboot, but
is it a Star Trek crossover?
That'd be great.
It would.
They should have an episode of.
It would be like Jason X, but with
Leatherface.
With Leatherface.
He gets the Borg.
Yeah, basically. That actually.
That'd be a good
fanfic.
Write that fanfic.
The more and more I think about it, the more and more that would be an amazing thing. The more and more I actually want that to be like, you know, a thing.
Well, yeah, I saw this on TV once. It was so bad. Bad. Like, bad. Like, worse than the movie we saw, but bad in a way that you could laugh at it and enjoy it.
Oh, good.
As Des said, this is the one where Matthew McConaughey is like Leatherface's brother, and he has a robot leg controlled by a remote connected to his leg by like a cord.
So magic.
Yeah.
Sweet.
No, like, yeah, basically.
Nice.
And who else is in this? Who's that one who plays Bridget Jones in Bridget Jones' Diary? Is Jennifer Love Hewitt?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, she's in there as well. So you got.
Does she get killed?
No, wait. I don't remember anybody dying in the movie. I don't remember anything. I don't remember any of the kills. I just remember all the weird shit that happened.
You see, you kind of go into a Texas Chainsaw movie and you think to yourself, you actually actively find yourself looking at the characters and trying to judge. You're gonna die.
Yeah, but she plays one of the bad guys. She's another weird relative of Leatherface is in the
there's-
movie. There's
She's one of the Sawyer people.
I don't even remember if they were called the Sawyers in this one.
Let's just assume they are, because that's what they're called in the latest atrocity. And
Yeah, that's what they were called in the original.
so yeah, let's just we'll go with Sawyers.
Then, now this is an interesting one. Then we had the Platinum Dunes Michael Bay produced remake of the original movie, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003,
I did not see that.
which I actually think is a good movie. I know there are going to be Texas Chainsaw purists out there. They're like, no, it's a piece of tripe, that Michael Bay, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, of all of the, because you know a big thing of the noughties was to remake all horror movies from the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, every
And
single one.
this is one of the ones that I think is good. I can't really think of much that are. I think there's this one I like, and I like the remake of The Hills Have Eyes.
So what exactly was good about this one? I've never seen it. I've seen I've seen
It's
Texas
more
Chainsaw Massacre, but
It's more or less the same story, but with slightly different characters. And it's just longer and has a bigger budget. But it's
that's totally out of character for Michael Bay.
He didn't direct it though.
What did he do?
He produced it, as in he
He
gave it the monies.
Why is his name?
Because he owns
All right, fair enough, yeah.
he owns Platinum
So
Dunes.
it was his
or he
studio.
runs Platinum
It was his
Dunes.
studio.
Yeah, it's, the same studio. Platinum Dunes are the same people that did the remake of the reboot of Friday the 13th, and the
So they're just like a
of-
reboot factory.
yeah,
You
and
stick
they
in
did
an
the
old
reboot
movie,
of Nightmare on Elm
you
Street.
crank
but
the lever.
They didn't do the remake, and then the sequel of that remake of Halloween, which I kind of liked as well. I didn't like it as much as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre one. It's just kind of all right.
I think I've seen that one.
Yeah,
Was that the one with the poster with the one with the knife as one of the pumpkin head
That's
things?
the original Halloween.
Oh yeah, I thought they redid the poster.
No.
I've got a weird feeling I've seen it. Whatever, carry on.
Yeah. So what was I going to get to? Oh yeah, then they did a prequel to that remake in 2006 called Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, which is kind of just more or less an extension of the remake. It's not really as good as the remake. It's just, this is what happened before. And it kind of gives a weird origin to Leatherface. That he was like, nah, fuck it. It doesn't even have to go into
Okay,
those
hold on a
details.
sec. Are we spoiling the epic saga that are the Texas Chainsaw remakes and?
No, I just couldn't be asked to go over it.
Oh, right.
So where does that bring us now? Oh yeah, so then for 6 years we've had no Texas Chainsaw movie, and apparently somewhere in this span of time, Lionsgate obtained the rights to the franchise, which New Line have had, I'm pretty sure, since the original. Did they? Or did they acquire in the 90s or something? I know, they've had it for a while. Which is always weird, because I always thought, when they did Freddy vs. Jason, I always thought, they could do a Freddy vs. Jason vs. Leatherface movie if they wanted.
But they didn't. So.
But then the problem with that is Leatherface is human. So him fighting Jason and Freddy would be kind of stupid.
You'd be kind of rooting for him on the side, being like, yeah, there's a human guy there. Yeah, fuck you, immortal hell beast things.
Yes. So now we come to this movie, which, let me tell you, is somewhat a disappointment to me. Because when I first heard about it, it was announced as, we're doing a direct sequel to the original movie that ignores the silly sequels and doesn't take them as canon. And I was like, that's brilliant. And then they brought out like interesting promotional material, like they just had that poster with all the masks on it, and it just.
I think
really
I remember
cool.
that.
Yeah, it had like Evil Wears Many Faces. Here's my first gripe about the movie, and it's false lying to me. How many masks did he wear in the new movie, Rich? 2.
2, yeah.
He wore the one at the very beginning, which he wore in the original, and then he wears the one he wears the rest of the movie.
And they look very, very similar.
No, they don't.
I'm not
One
even-
looked like a woman. You know, the one with the woman
Oh
face.
crap! Yeah, that was
When
the
he wears
really,
the-
really rubbery one. The really rubbery one with the. Oh, what's the word? Blush. With the blush on it.
Yeah. So anyway, let's start off with the only good part of this movie, the beginning. So at the very very beginning in the movie, they show footage of the original movie, but it's kind of been altered to look kind of dreamlike.
I was kind of getting like a sort of nearly, like, at a push, vaguely found footagey.
Yeah, it kind of did have a...
It was in a sort of weird found footage / dream, like, limbo.
But that could just be a thing of that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not one of the highest quality looking films.
Yeah,
I mean, this is one of the guerrilla-made movies. Like, I mean, a film shot on cheap film for less than $300,000 in the hot summer in Texas in 1974.
Yeah,
It ain't gonna look the best, which is what's part of its charm, really. It
Yeah,
kind of gives
it
it
works.
a documentary
It works.
look to it. So then, as soon as all that recap, essentially, if you've not seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, spoiler alert at the beginning of this movie, because you'll see everything, more or less,
Yeah.
all the major points. And then it picks up, let's say, an hour about after that movie, less maybe. We're at the, we're following a policeman, and he's driving up to the house, and the red truck is there. If you've seen the original, you know what the red truck is. And then he goes up to the house, and the brother that didn't die, the Leatherface's brother that didn't die is there, except he looks nothing like he did in the original movie. Like, not at all. He doesn't even look the same age, roughly. He looks like he's about 20 years younger.
He's just...
So
they
then,
basically just got a whole new...
so then we're
Sawyer
introduced to this character of the police chief, who is the shittest police chief ever.
You look at him and you think, yeah, this guy's the usual kind of trope of the, you know, the...
But like,
the angry
yeah,
black
you think
guy.
he's
The
gonna
angry-
he's gonna
the
bring
angry
you think
black
he's gonna
police
bring
chief.
down the law on
He
these
is,
people.
You think to yourself, yeah, this guy is authority. This
No.
guy, no.
This guy has no authority. He comes up to the house basically. This is what he's like. He's like, "All right, now I have a girl. She says you butchered her friends, and yeah, this is on you. Yeah." And you're like, "Okay, where's the backup or whatever?" And then anyway, out of nowhere, a whole like extended Sawyer family reunion just comes driving up to the house.
Were they the Sawyers?
Yeah, you know the people that get into the house. They drive up and then they ran into the house.
Into the house?
Yeah.
I thought.
Oh,
I
you don't remember that?
Were you talking about the people who shot? No, the people who didn't shoot them. I never knew people walked into the house. Whatever.
Yeah, okay, had you been paying attention, you would have noticed that about 5 trucks came up to the house, a load of rednecks got out of it, ran into the house, and then set up defense with the people already in the house.
I thought they were just already in there, just hiding in the rafters.
No.
I'm pretty sure they just sleep there.
That would have made even less sense, because then you'd be wondering, where the fuck were they in the first movie?
They're all on the roof, just sleeping in hammocks.
Yeah, so then this extended Sawyer family reunion comes out to defend the home.
Oh yeah.
Then the police chief's like, "Oh, god damn it." And then more rednecks out of nowhere shoot the place up, torch the house down, burn up everybody except Leatherface and this one woman with a baby. And then this one redneck kills her and takes their baby, and then him and his wife raise that baby, and that's the main character. She's getting raised by this couple, and then she finds out of nowhere. I don't know how. This was never fully explained in the movie. She gets a letter of some sort that tells her, "Oh, you're related to this woman. She just died. You're inheriting her house. BTW, your parents are not your real parents."
Have fun.
Yeah. And I'm like, that made no goddamn sense. Yeah, so they show up at the house, just need to get to the set. They go to the house, and then, lo and behold, who's in the house? Fucking Leatherface, living in the basement.
Who knew?
And from there on, it just becomes
A clusterfuck?
Leatherface. Okay, I mean, from there on, it was a clusterfuck before they even got there.
Yeah, true.
But okay, let's just go down into how things that, like, immediately right off the bat aren't working with this movie. One, the soundtrack.
What soundtrack?
I don't know. You know, it's when they're going on the road trip, and then there's that Trey Songz song. Like, Trey Songz is in the movie, and then one of his songs is playing when they're on the road trip.
Oh, that's what it was.
And I'm just like, what?
I thought they basically just like walked into a club and just decided, yeah, give me what you're playing tonight. Yoink, great, fantastic. That's our soundtrack to our movie.
And in the original movie, and people be like, oh, you shouldn't be comparing this to the original. Yeah, I should. considering their bold claim was, this is a direct sequel, a true tribute, a proper sequel to that original movie.
No.
And I need to compare it. In the original movie, they didn't really have music. It was just freaky sounds. They'd have stuff like metal
angry,
twanging off things, like going twing.
Occasionally,
twang,
maybe like an angry
twing,
violin
twing,
or something like that.
And then the most famous sound in the movie, which has been using like a lot of the Texas Chainsaw movies since, is that, which I don't even. Do you know what that is? It's like they just keep playing that in the original movie and in this and in other movies.
I think it's just a high-pitched tension noise.
It's just this really weird, freaky noise. It's just weird.
I don't know.
Like I thought, like, is it some sort of camera film thing, or I don't know.
I think it's just. Well, whenever you hear that, you're kind of like uncomfortable. It's an annoying noise.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of that's what it's
like,
supposed to.
When you think about it, though, you wouldn't want to hear that if you were in your bed in the dark. Just like you heard that noise out of nowhere, just.
If you heard it, you'd be kind of looking around, being all shifty. You're like
shifty, more like vibrating so hard
I'm going
to the moon.
I'm going to get murdered. Who's in the cupboard?
So,
show yourself, douchebag.
So anyway, I want to get. I'm just gonna get on to just shit I did not like about this movie.
There's lots of it.
Yeah. So there's right off the bat, who directed this shit? Let me look it up. This is directed by a guy called John Listenhop, who I've never heard of.
Listenhop?
Yeah, I've never heard of, and I don't ever want to hear of him again.
Hold on, what else has he done?
He's done Tick, 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 Lockdown, and Takers. Okay, go.
Oh, whatever. Okay.
So, first off, he feels the need to play tribute to the original in ways that some ways are kind of okay and some ways are just plain annoying. Like, there's a shot at the beginning of the hell's the animal again? An armadillo.
I didn't think that really played into it. I think
no, that wasn't annoying. I kind of thought that one was kind of okay. That was an okay tribute to the original, because in the original they have a dead armadillo on the floor.
I think they were really, really overbearing in trying to say, remember this? Oh, that was in the movie? Yeah, you remember?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That armadillo one was alright. I was like, that was a nice, simple one. But then when they did this thing, this is the one that was okay at first, where in the original movie, one of the girls is walking up to the house, and there's this like tracking shot of her rear end, and she's wearing these kind of red pants. This happens once in the original, and it's about a 5 to 7 second shot, if even. This new movie, it happens every bloody 3 minutes.
This character is a walking ass shot.
Yeah, so major problem with this film is with the characters is just how stereotypy they are, which is a problem with the slasher genre and horror genre as a whole.
Like in general.
And obviously was very emphasized with Cabin in the Woods.
That's the thing. They just took a complete piss out of it, and scary movie. Like, if you think about it, the scary movies, or Scream did it first.
Yeah,
Scream. like let's face it. Everybody knows the kind of stereotypical slasher victims. You know, there's always the douchebag jockey one. There's the stoner. There's the slightly more studious girl. There's the absolute bitch who just wants to fuck, and sometimes there's more people.
Yeah. So over the last, when did Scream come out? 1997, 96.
I haven't a clue.
7, I think. Since then, and then there has been a bunch of movies that have brought this point to light, but people who just make horror films just aren't changing that. They're not trying to go against the grain, which is really sad because, especially with this movie, because it being a sequel to the original slasher film, which
you think it would learn from, be the original. You think it would learn from all its if the other slashers were its children. To put a bit of a weird slant on it, they'd be able to look at it and say, yeah, look at all these things these other movies are doing. Look at all the things they're doing wrong, and let's correct them. No, they actually fall into the exact same traps that the movies that came after it did. It is the definition of not learning after your mistakes.
Because the original movie, it introduced the concept of teenager victims, but at this time in the slasher genre history, as the beginning, there wasn't the stereotypes. The five characters in the original movie are just normal, likable characters. And then it wasn't until Friday the 13th that these stereotypes were introduced. And I can't necessarily blame Friday the 13th for it because it had a point. It was part of its plot.
Yeah, yeah.
It was brought up at the end of the movie as to why the idea of the killer going after the stereotypes, it was relevant. But since that movie, they've just taken that template and slapped every
douchebag with a knife or a sword or a whatever topical
they
weapon
they have something against these stereotypes. Well, okay, I can understand. We all do. But
well, they're douchebags, but they're not a reason to be like, yeah, I want to stab you until you like stop being a douchebag. You know, it's you don't exactly go out of your way to say, yeah, die, please.
So there's probably there's a bunch of moments in this movie that are just stupid as hell.
They're not even the good kind of stupid.
No, there's just things that just don't make any sense. For example, there's this bit where the main characters are getting away in a truck and it tumbles over, which in itself is crazy.
Yeah.
Just don't even want to.
That entire scene was hilarious.
But then, okay, so then Leatherface comes over to the car. He's trying to get at them by sticking the chainsaw in the windows, and remember now the van is upside. Not a car, a fucking van, right?
Yeah,
it's a big, heavy red van. And he's trying to get the chainsaw into the windows to cut them. And they're like, oh no, move to each side, get away, whatever. So what's Leatherface's plan? I'll shake and push the van over. Because, like, a man could do that. A man could push a van over.
But he's scary and the bad guy and he's super strong and he's the strongest and the man with the chainsaw.
This brings me to another thing I hated about this movie. Leatherface. Alright, okay. In my opinion, the original Leatherface, Gunnar Henson, the guy who played him, is the best. In the original movie, Leatherface, he's not really like a strong, scary, husky guy. He's just kind of an overweight, babbling moron. Like, he clearly has some sort of, which is obvious from all the films, he clearly has some sort of mental problem. But it's like, it's quite obvious in the original that he's like, his coordination is very bad.
He's just generally
very.
He's not right.
He moves very childlikely, like as if he's trying to. It's just hard to describe. He's just not. He's clearly just not a grown man, in his head. Like mentally.
Yeah, he toddles. That's what he does.
Even like the way he makes noises, he doesn't make like weird, scary noises. He makes kind of like whimpery noises and weird screams, all things that like a child would do. But in this movie. Which is the saddest part, is this is meant to be the same Leatherface, because this is apparently canological.
Oh yeah.
First of all, he isn't kind of as overweighty looking, he looks more muscly. And he moves with much more assertion, much more precision. He kind of moves a bit more like Jason Voorhees. You know how Jason Voorhees has that kind of slow stride and very calculated movement to him?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it's more Jason Voorheesy. I'd say it's just less. Oh, I move like a 4-year-old.
Yeah,
he moves like an 8-year-old now. It's crazy.
And he sounds so different. He's like there's this bit where he's doing stuff to the people in his lair, and he's making all these noises like.
He grunts apparently.
Like, that makes no sense. It's totally out of character. And like. Even in the remake, he is more of a scary.
I just realized, right? It's kind of like a dark and grittiness, you know, kind of dark and grittiness aspect, you know. It's like you know the way these days are always giving characters like a sort of dark and gritty voice, like Batman.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. What if this is like the dark and gritty version of the. It's the Batmanification of the 1970s.
Hold on, wait.
Leatherface.
You're telling me this is the dark and gritty version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yes.
Right. That's just...
Apparently...
It's just not dark and gritty enough.
No, it has to be turned...
Next up, they'll give him demon powers or something, I don't know. But yeah, so moving on from that point, which was probably one of my. That's just something this movie that made me just pissed off with this movie. Is there are just a lot of moments in this movie that are just plain weird and stupid. Like when he is trying to get the main character when she's on a Ferris wheel. Yeah, don't even ask how they ended up on a Ferris wheel. But anyway, she's on a Ferris wheel, and Leatherface is there, and he's waiting for her to come down, and then the handsome cop character comes up to save the day by pointing his gun.
Yeah.
And Leatherface decides. He tells him, "Put down the gun." And Leatherface decides, with my impossible Superman strength, I will fling my chainsaw at this guy like it's made of like paper. So he does that
with impressive CG and motion.
Yeah, no, that's it. He flings fucking Pixar made a chainsaw for this movie, and he throws that at the guy.
If Pixar made a chainsaw, it would actually have looked better.
Yes.
Let's face it.
And then guy dodges the chainsaw, cut to Leatherface, which was the only Leatherface-like moment in the movie.
I'd say what he actually did. I didn't see. I didn't actually notice him. I mean, to me, when I saw the movie, he looked like Leatherface just simply disappeared from shot. But now, judging by what Cian is saying, I can't help but imagine Leatherface just, Zoidbergingly.
He did. It looked like Zoidberg. When Zoidberg escapes, he had his hands up in the air, and he was just like, and you know the way people do that thing with their hands where they flick the wrists as they run with them in the air? He did that running into the woods. It just disappeared. It was fucking hilarious. But still, that made him seem more like Leatherface from the first movie.
Yeah, it did. It made him look a little more like, oh fuck,
so
I'm about to get in trouble.
We've kind of shitted on it, on all the little aspects enough, and I want to discuss the big thing at the end of the movie, which is when the main character comes to realize, so she's taken in by the police, and our super duper police chief, who, he's been very helpful this whole time, just leaves this guy leaves this box of evidence next to her, detailing everything that happened. They
weren't even like remotely subtle in trying to say, this is just a box. It was a huge, big wooden box with the word evidence stamped in red. It was a cardboard box. Evidence stamped in red. I mean, it wasn't even open. It wasn't even open. I'm pretty sure they just wanted her to look at it.
So, it's implied that the police chief and the townspeople, and particularly this one main redneck guy who was part of killing all the Sawyers, who is now mayor.
Yeah.
They decided to cover up, and I put the word cover up in the biggest quotation marks imaginable that day. So when you cover something up, do you gather all the evidence and put it in a box? Yes. But do you not burn that box to pieces? No.
Also, according to these guys, you also put the offending weapon of the person you just murdered
over in a bar,
in a bar, just for everyone to see. Just be like,
wonder where that crisp burnt chainsaw came from.
That's my cousin's. He killed a whole man.
Oh, that just reminds me of a good line at the beginning of the film I had to bring up. Do you remember when your man picks up the main character as a baby and then goes to his wife and says, "I got it for you, honey"?
Oh yeah.
And I was like, Jesus. It's really... Actually, I wonder how people from Texas feel about this movie. They must be so offended by it.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like, if I was from Texas, I'd be like, slightly offended.
I don't know. This is just like them making movies about really typical... Like, movies set in this country, but everybody is like a really farmer folk.
It's like the guys from the Hills of Eyes suddenly just descended upon, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the Sawyer family against the guys from the Hills of Eyes.
Well, no, the people from the Hills of Eyes are mutants. And they have a kind of legitimate... they have a reason. I more sympathize with the people from the Hills of Eyes than I do with the people in this movie, because they were an underprivileged... They didn't have to, like... Yeah, I mean, I get into details about the movie, but yeah. So, at the end of the movie, it's more or less... All the main characters are dead. Well, all of the protagonists' friends have been killed. And then she now comes to realize that Leatherface is actually her cousin, and then she finds out with this evidence box everything that happened that day, which a weird thing I noticed in the movie, they never revealed the year that it all happened. Every time they showed something with the date, it said August 19th, it just said 19, and the next two numbers were blocked out.
Oh yeah.
Which I was like, this implies, like, everyone knows the original is set when it came out, 1974.
I did not know that, but cool.
You can tell just by looking at it, it's the 70s. Mm-hmm. So the one in this movie looks like in her early 20s. So that would place this movie in the 90s. Now, I don't know about you, but in the 90s, I don't think they had iPhones with FaceTime on them that works without Wi-Fi. We don't even have that now.
Yeah, yeah. How do they even have 3G reception?
No, not even 3G. You can't use FaceTime with 3G.
Really?
Yeah, you have to have you on Wi-Fi. So that was why that made no sense. Maybe the fucking grandma, the old woman's house where Leatherface was living had really great internet connection that had no password. That's the only explanation I can see.
Or super secret police.
That's
technology.
how I bet that Leatherface uses it to do makeup tutorials on YouTube.
It wouldn't surprise me actually.
Yeah, but so anyway, she finds out that Leatherface is her cousin, and I don't know about you, Rich. If say you inherited a house somewhere up the country.
Yeah.
Like a big house, a castle maybe.
Sweet.
You go there, you take your friends, they all get killed by someone, some crazy person in the basement. When you find out they're actually your cousin, are you going to become their friend?
No.
No, I don't care. If somebody
I don't care. Even if he's my cousin. After killing, if he decided to suddenly go at one of my friends and saw him in half, I'm pretty sure he'd be kind of disowned from my family.
So her reasoning, her justification in her head is, my family that I'm actually related to were all killed by the people in this town. And I'm like, yes, what they did was technically wrong, but at the same time, your family was a family of cannibals who had been murdering people for decades. I don't really feel very bad that they were all stopped. I know.
On one hand, you can kind of see where the main character's coming from. I mean, like.
Okay, I would have accepted this, maybe, had her actual friends not been killed.
Yeah, also, she was surprisingly calm about presenting it to the police.
Yes! In the police, she's just kind of like, yeah, so my friends have all been killed and I'm the only survivor and I'm a Sawyer. She kind of just went over like that and I'm like, wow, she really seems to care that everyone's dead.
Okay, cool, yeah, your 4 friends are dead, whatever. But what's this, you're a Sawyer?
No. Hold on, let's just leave the evidence spot. Oh yeah. So anyway, she's been taken by the bad guys who we're supposed to now play this weird thing where we think the townspeople are bad and Leatherface is good. So she goes to this place. She's taken this place. Leatherface shows up to kill her, but then through this bullshit weird reason, he finds out that he's related to her, and then they team up, like at the end of Alien vs Predator. Where your one teams up with the Predator, except that made even more sense than this does.
It really did.
The Leatherface and her team up to take out the bad guy, the mayor of the town.
So hold on a second. There's a point about the mayor I want to make, right? The mayor from this town is, you know that Texan business
guy from Fairly Odd Parents.
No, not even from that. From The Simpsons.
Oh yeah.
In fact, every Texan.
He's the stereotypical Texan businessman.
The first line he got in the movie was him offering to buy the house.
That wasn't the first line, but that was in his first conversation.
Yeah, it was okay. It was like a second or third line.
But they team up, and I tell you, one of the lines of this will be one of the quotes. This will be one of the cinematic quotes of the decade is delivered.
Oh my god.
Our protagonist passes Leatherface his chainsaw and says, "Do your thing, cuz."
I'm pretty sure, like, anybody who saw the first movie just collectively hemorrhaged.
So then they kill him, and then the police chief is there. He doesn't stop them from killing him, and his quote is a quote that the guy said at the beginning of "an eye for an eye, can't argue with the good book." But more or less, what I was thinking was going on in the head of that police chief is, well, I don't like to work. I've never liked to do anything, so fuck it. And then he just puts his gun in and walks away. Oh yeah, and his final line is to both Leatherface and your one, clean this shit up. Just leaves them. Doesn't file a report on it or anything. Worst police chief ever.
He really is. He's like the worst. Yeah, he really is. There's no question about it.
So, alright. I'm very disappointed by this movie. I'm a big fan. I'm not a humongous fan, but I am a fan of the original movie, so I was very disappointed by it. But I wouldn't be as mad had I not known going into it that we are going to get a sequel to this movie. They have announced...
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Lionsgate have announced, brace yourselves, for Texas Chainsaw 4. Yeah. What? 4? As I mentioned to you at the beginning, there are 7 movies. There are 3 original movies, 2 reboots. One of the reboots has a prequel. This is a direct sequel to the original that ignores all the other films, making it can only possibly be taken as the 7th or the 2nd film. So how can its sequel be called Texas Chainsaw 4?
I'm pretty sure.
As I said, who's numbering this shit? Capcom?
They got a dice.
They got...
What? Oh, what's it gonna be? 4. Yes, I love that number.
So let's look forward to I'm actually kind of curious. Where is this movie going to go? Because it leaves off with opening this letter that her grandmother left her, which she was told at the beginning to read, but no, she's like, nah, I'll read it later.
Where's this movie go? What if it's like Leatherface in New York?
So it ends. Like Friday the 13th Part 8.
Yeah,
or Leprechaun in the Hood.
Yeah, it's going to be Leatherface in the Hood.
Yes. But anyway, no, the film ends with the main character learning that she'll now have to take care of Leatherface. All she has to do is he's going to live in his little basement thing and she'll just bring him a tray of food every so often. Wow, she has a great life now. So where's that sequel going to go? Maybe it'll be set like years later and Leatherface is somehow still alive, but that bitch dies and then something else has to happen.
I don't. Why?
No.
This is a crazy thing. I believe this is worth saying, right? How much did this movie make in its opening weekend?
It made about 21 million.
Fuck that.
Domestically.
And I nearly feel bad. Having seen this, I've contributed to this and I should feel bad.
And I had a budget of 18, I think, which makes it the most expensive Texas Chainsaw movie. Let me tell you, it didn't look it. I assume that extra, like the remake, the original remake, which looks way better than this movie.
Yeah.
That cost 9 million.
Seriously.
But I assume
this is the first. I mean,
either I don't know, inflation might be taken into account, and I don't know, 3D cameras must be expensive. I don't know, we didn't see this in 3D, so the 3D is probably shit as well anyway.
There was a lot of 3D gimmicks, actually.
Oh yes, I don't know how many times they had that chainsaw just pointed right at the screen.
In fact, there was one particular scene, I think it was the one with the chainsaw coming through the coffin or something like that.
Yeah.
They deliberately ear raped you. Like,
oh yes, where it was like
they had a deliberate tactic of, like, they stuck the chainsaw next to you and you saw the chainsaw right poking towards you and you could tell even in 2D. Yeah, this is the part with the 3D gimmicks. But not only that, right? They upped the volume, and they upped the volume hard.
Oh my god, another stupid 3D thing. You know, then they had the opening title, and it just went, Texas Chainsaw 3D, and it looked like a big CG pile of meat, and, and then it sliced in half, and it flew at the camera.
It was like somebody dicking around in After Effects.
I know, I was like, Jesus Christ, clearly the 18 million did not go towards that.
No, I'd say what happened was they suddenly realized, hey, we need a title sequence. You've got After Effects. Go do that.
Yeah, so anyway, here's what I think. Just quit all this bullshit with all these other movies. What they need to do, they need to start over. They need to do a direct sequel to the original movie that follows, and I've always said this, the black guy that shows up at the end and runs over Leatherface's brother by accident, then gets out of the truck, helps the main character, then gets back into his truck, and when he comes out the other side, he clobbers Leatherface in the head with a wrench, and then runs down the road and just disappears. I always want to know what happened to that guy. Which they had their opportunity in the beginning of this movie. His truck was there. Where was he? That's
what Texas Chainsaw 4 is going to be about.
Maybe, I hope, better be. Better be a spin-off about him. And there's another thing I just realized. Imagine if he is the son of the chief.
I'd say that sounds too official. How about we? Okay, I'd say we break in the crazy crossovers. I'd say, the truck was Optimus Prime. I'm announcing that crossover.
At this stage, I wouldn't be upset if after seeing the newest movie, they could do that if they wanted.
It's probably worth mentioning that before this, I actually attempted to try and look for entertaining fanfics and crossovers. You know the way crappy fanfics. I came out of this movie actually thinking, yeah, whoever directed this basically just took like your average crappy fanfic and decided to write it.
Now you're thinking about it, the ending of this movie does set it up for really sick, weird fanfic kind of stuff. I mean, we might one day get 50 Shades of Texas Chainsaw.
50 Shades of
50 rems of
50
rems of blood.
50 Shades of Skin Mask?
Or blush, she's always into makeup or whatever. But anyway, I think we said enough. All in all, this movie was absolute garbage and offended me to my core.
I'd say this is approximately I'd say it's about 2,987 out of 6 by 10 to, 6 by 10 to the 23. It's fairly low.
Right, you didn't have to make it.
Actually, someone with a calculator, if you're listening to this, just try and work that out. I'm pretty sure it's sufficiently low.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna say that this is the second horror film I've seen in a row that has severely offended me to my core. The last being Silent Hill Revelation, and I'm telling you that Evil Dead remake better be great, or I don't know what I'll do.
Cian's gonna go postal.
I will.
That's a direct threat to Sam Raimi. Just saying.
Oh yeah. Sam Raimi,
you've got a
watch
lot
out.
to live up to, or Cian right here is
In
going
fact,
to...
stop working on your Oz the Great and Powerful movie and just make the new Evil Dead brilliant. Because I don't really care about your new Oz movie.
Like, he's going to end up with bricks through his window.
Oh yeah. Anyway, I think we'll just end it there.